Hello, hello. Would anyone like to tell us where the bell is? President Jim would like to start the meeting and he doesn't know where his bell is. Anyone want to throw him a lifeline? A little bit of help.
That works.
Did you find it, Jim? Your other left.
Wait a minute, let me get my spreader.
Says 12:30. Ring the bell. Hello, fellow Rotarians and guests. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Pleasanton. This meeting is being recorded and will be available for viewing on our YouTube channel. I want to welcome. Wait a minute. Let me start over again. All right.
Already?
And Shu mentioned, as I said and had lunch, she said, Jim, just think of everybody as a class. But then I said to her, I know who all the discipline problems are. So let me get back to the script here. I want to welcome our visitors. We hope you enjoy today's meeting and come back again. If any visitors want to learn about becoming a member, it says, please see me. I'm going to just say, just see Ricky. And after the meeting. And I want to say thank you. I think we can sit down, can't we? Yes. Okay, please be seated. Oh, the pledge. Okay, I need somebody to lead the pledge. Thanks, Brad.
Please face the flag and pledge allegiance to the greatest country the world has ever known. I pledge allegiance
Of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, under God.
You may be seated.
Thank you, Brad. And I need a volunteer for We Care. Yes, we do. Okay, thanks, Mike.
I'm here for you, Jim. You realize that that's the first time the Assembly of Rotarians has actually stood for the new president. Normally, nobody wants to stand up for you. Okay, let's do some We Care. We will go in, let's go in counterclockwise. Thank you, Gary.
Rick, do we have a Rotary International? Okay.
Uniting individuals and communities. We are Rotary. We are people of action. And together, we turn great ideas into reality by accessing our networks, our experience, and the best of ourselves to make a difference. Around the world, Rotary brings leaders together to build new friendships and to solve problems. Like in Austria, where generations work side by side to come up with innovative ways to build sustainable housing and community centers. Everyone learning from each other. In India, volunteers run a mobile blood bank to help provide a steady blood supply for their local community. And in Taiwan, people are working hard to get vulnerable citizens the support and services they need. With over 1 million members, we know what people can do when they come together. In your backyard and around the world, there's power in our connections. Take action with us. Find out more at Rotary.org.
Thank you, Ricky. One thing I need to point out is that our theme for this year is, let me pull this up, the magic of Rotary. One of the magical things that's going to happen is next time I run a meeting, it'll be so much smoother. And that'll be magic. I also want to talk about just
That's being recorded, just so you know.
I knew that. So what I want to do as president is carry on what the former presidents have done in this great club. Be a positive representative of all of you as your president. Someone laughed. Oh, and be available to you to listen to you and to try to work together as we have in the past. And I also, Brad pointed out that this is our 60th year since the inception of the club, and we do want to have a celebration at the end of this year. So I'll be coordinating that celebration, and would be thankful to have any help from anybody that might be interested in helping with that. So, I want to have fun and I want to do good. So I want to turn this over to Bradley.
Thank you, President Jim. Shall we dance? Okay. We're fortunate today to have a very successful person in Pleasanton who many of you know, and she knows many of you. Melanie Sadek comes with 20 years of successful corporate and small business management. She was ran education programs for drivers for the California State Automobile Association. So Jerry Bowden, if you need somebody for driver education in Pleasanton, Melanie's available. Okay. In 2007, she opened Murphy's Paw downtown, which many of us thought, well, what are we doing with a pet store downtown? She was extremely successful and sold that in 2011 and moved on to run the Valley Humane Society. Would everyone who's gotten a pet from the Valley Humane Society raise their hand? Okay, see that, Melanie? Pretty good. Rotarians, please welcome Melanie Sadek.
Thank you. My magic bag of tricks. Mike's nervous because he's going to help me. So when I've been kind of nagging Brad, like, why haven't I been asked to come back to speak? It's been a long time. And so we pretty much just said, we're sick of hearing about nonprofits and what they need from us. Tell us how you run your business, which I love. He didn't say it like that. He was much nicer. He was much nicer, but it's true. And so as somebody who has run this nonprofit for 13 years, it's kind of exciting to talk about kind of how it works and what we do. You know, I'm going to just say this. We're a great organization. We're very committed to making a life-saving difference in people's lives and animals' lives, and you can't separate the two. We have a number of amazing programs, but I am not going to talk about them today. Today, we are going to talk about what it means to run a nonprofit and what it means to run an animal shelter. And so I'm going to give you all the inside scoop, which unfortunately is being recorded. So now, when you run a nonprofit, it's everything's public. And so I couldn't hide these things from you, even if I wanted to. But we're going to talk about kind of who this organization is, what we do, and then I'm going to actually make Mike Hosterman, I did check with them first, come up here and we're going to do a little exercise that kind of explains how animal shelters work. So first, all the nitty gritty, and you can ask me any questions at any time. It doesn't bother me. So we have 2 locations. We are on Spring Street, so I'm back in the bid district, not joining the PDA board again, unless Mike does. And then we have a location off of Nevada Street. If you go down California, you'd run right into us. And so that's an animal shelter. We have cats and dogs that live there until we can find a new home for them. The location on Spring Street is a surgery center. And so we opened officially in May of last year, and we've done over 9,000 surgeries. Yeah, we have 25 employees. We've got 1 full-time veterinarian and 1 part-time veterinarian, 5 registered vet techs, so registered veterinary technicians. and a team that works out of the shelter and a team that works at the surgery center on the admin side. So Claire, who's here, is our development manager. And so what Claire does is she's a huge help to me because one of the most difficult things about running a nonprofit is gratitude. And it's not like you wouldn't think gratitude is hard, but you are filled with gratitude every day for everything people do for you. But you have to express that. And sometimes it's hard. It's hard because you have so many different people that you're giving, giving donations and building relationships. And so Claire is really so great at making sure all of our donors know how much we appreciate them, that they're getting their thank you letters on time, that we are kind of looking at every opportunity to make sure that people understand who we are as an organization and why we're important to this community. So let me see what I've already told you here. We do not get any funding from the government. So only 10% of nonprofits in the state of California don't receive government funding, and we're one of them. So that makes me feel super special. Not really. So we rely completely on community donations. We don't get any money from any national groups. So the Humane Society of the United States, ASPCA, none of those. They do not give us funding. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is something people say to me often. It's a trigger. People will say, oh, it's so easy for you guys. Who wouldn't give you money to support cats and dogs? But actually, that's not true. If you look at how people give and who they give to, animals are not at the top. And because we don't get any government funding and corporations don't align their philanthropy to animal welfare, we don't get a lot of corporate gifts as well. So we have to work very hard for what we get from our own community. So thank you for everyone that's adopted from us, donated to us, all of it. We appreciate it. So do you want to know what it costs to run Valley Humane? Since I'm being told to tell you the nitty gritty. So on this year, we will spend roughly $2.7 million. And that, if you think about your animal at home and think about how expensive that animal is, just imagine having almost 1,000 running through your facility. So it's very expensive. The cost of vet care is expensive. Having that staff is very expensive. So it's a lot of money to run this nonprofit. And so this year we are expecting 2.8 million in income. So you can see that it's going to be almost a wash. Though I looked at the numbers and I think we'll break 3 million this year, just saying, hopefully. And so because in California, we have the Nonprofit Integrity Act that passed in, I think, 2004. So nonprofits that bring in over $2 million annually have to be audited each year. So how much does an audit cost? Does anyone want to guess? Come on, give me 50 grand. Any other guesses? No? 10. I love it. So we are right now, an annual audit will cost anywhere from $25,000 to $50,000 a year. Yes. And so it's an interesting thing because if you're paying attention to Charity Navigator, GuideStar, they will rate nonprofits based on how much money they spend in administration. And so if you don't get a certain rating in these columns, then you're considered not good. So your rating goes down. But when you're located in Pleasanton, and we lease the building up the street, we own the one on Nevada Street, and you've got to pay Pleasanton wages and all the, accounting costs and everything. It's expensive to be here compared. And these are national numbers that you're being compared to. So it's like you could be in some little tiny town in Idaho and you're still being compared the same way. So it's a challenge for nonprofits in this area to meet those numbers and make sure that they look credible. We do. We've got platinum ratings. I will say we are very well run. Just ask Claire. Ask her in front of me. Don't ask her when I'm not around. Okay, so let's see. So I'll just say that every nonprofit, I hear this a lot too. So every nonprofit needs to have money in the bank. But we often get criticized for this. So people will say, I don't understand why you don't spend every single dollar that you get. Like, why would you hold on to it? So how many people kind of feel that way? If you look and you're like, oh my gosh, that nonprofit, let's look at Open Heart Kitchen. I want to say they might have like $5 million in the bank. Why the heck are they continuing to ask for money? Does anybody know? Anyone want to guess? No, you guys better be more active when Mike gets up here.
The money runs out somewhere.
Yes. And so when you're running a nonprofit, when before the surgery center opened, Valley Humane could go 9 months losing money, up to $30,000 every single month, and just keep bleeding money. And almost 75% of our income would come in November and December when all the giving happened. And so if you don't have money, then you're in trouble. Does anyone remember 2011 when Valley Humane did our Save Our Shelter campaign because the organization was going to close? I'm glad you don't remember that. So that's when I got pulled in. I didn't know what was going on. We had the new building was just about to be completed. We had a large bequest that helped pay for it, and the capital campaign ready to go, and nobody launched the capital campaign. And so what happened was the organization just started spending all the money to keep doing the work they were doing. They didn't lose any donations. Everything was fine. If you were just looking at it, nothing had changed. But they let their reserve go so low that all of a sudden they had 2 board members making donations every single month just to cover expenses. And so that's why we had to go to the public, ask for assistance, which essentially was like the capital campaign that never got launched. And now we're awesome. So yeah, that was a rough time. I didn't know that when I took the job. I'm not even joking. I knew that they were struggling a little bit, and I really just needed to get a job again where I was giving back, because I was working in highway safety before, trying to save lives, really in there trying to support children. And then I opened the dog store, which was great. Murphy's Paw was great. I got to know our community better, but it didn't fill my bucket. I needed to give back. So I'm like, oh, I'll take that job. Oh my gosh. Then I saw what was going on. I'm like, I can't go under when I'm there. Like, it's all going to be put on me. And so I guess that's all you need to get me to take action. Don't make me look bad. So we at Valley Humane, we know we have to have $800,000 in the bank always to be able to kind of keep everything going. And with the surgery center, primarily the way we survive is through donations and fee for service. So the surgery center will bring in about $1.3 million this year, which is really amazing. And it's covering all of those medical costs that we have to pay. And then it has a small profit. And then we use money through our medical assistance fund to help people who cannot afford our already reduced rates. So why is this important? Well, in California, we can't do adoptions unless the animal is spay or neutered. And so this is kind of awesome, right? We don't want unwanted pregnancies and that kind of stuff, but it's also, there's a kink in the chain because we have a shortage of veterinarians. And so people can't get their animal fixed right now. Animal shelters, rescues are having a hard time finding the service. And so when we opened, now we've been able to push these animals out and so that they can be available for adoption much faster. So now they're not waiting for that surgery for the adoption to happen. And then from the community perspective, are there any veterinarians in the room? Do you have any vets as members? Okay. A lot of our veterinarians in our own community have been purchased by private equity firms. And so when they come in and they buy, then the prices start to go up, and the ability for the veterinarians to now negotiate rates to support our, fixed income communities goes away. And so we have definitely seen more animals entering our animal shelters because people cannot afford vet care or they can't even access it. And so Valley Humane, we work a lot on advocacy. And so I work in Sacramento. I'm the chair of the California Animal Welfare Association legislative group. Last year, we passed a bill that allows veterinarians to do telemedicine. So now let's just say that you're a senior citizen and you have a cat, and your cat it's so stressful for your cat to go, then they can actually just do a Zoom call now with their veterinarian. But before, it was not allowed. Vets could not do telemedicine. And the American Veterinary Medical Association fought us so hard on it because they think it hurts their business model. I don't know. Anyway, it passed. Yes.
Are privately owned veterinarians and the private equity companies that buy them, are they good contributors to you?
That we have a handful of veterinarians that are amazing. That, I mean, before we opened the surgery center, all of our surgeries had to be done by private practice veterinarians. And so we have some that just have done so much to try to keep our animals moving through the system. But what we realized is the price was going up and their ability to give us appointments was going down. And so it was like, board, if we don't take action, we will never be able to do the work that we're supposed to do because we can't get the surgeries and we can't afford them. And so we do like Pacific Vet in Lafayette, Dr. Selmeyer, he lives right up the street here. He's amazing. They're sponsoring our gala. He jumps in and does orthopedic surgeries for us, which is amazing. They're sponsoring the gala, so that's a contribution. And then Veterinary Emergency Group, they're the emergency room in San Ramon. They're amazing as well. And both the doctors that run those came from Sage. And it was before Sage changed their model where they could really support the community. And so really kind of deep in the core of these two people, I think they want to do everything they can to help. And so they are helping us. But I have been told that I'm a socialist. Just going to say this. I believe that when a private entity comes in and purchases something that's about animal welfare or human health care, that there should be some kind of obligation to give back, because we probably only have 60% of our community maybe that can afford to go to the vet right now. And so during COVID, when everything was locked down, people couldn't even get in to have their animals euthanized and humanely euthanized. So animals that are old, sick, and suffering. And in Contra Costa County, they just stopped doing humane euthanasia, which is about $50. And so if you live in Contra Costa County, you have to find a vet that it's going to be $500 for your animal to be euthanized. And people can't afford it. And so then what happens? The animal suffers until they die on their own. Or we have cases where they're giving their animal NyQuil or Tylenol night something. And because they've read online that can kill the animal in a more humane way. Like, that is inhumane, not for the animal alone, but for the people who love that animal. And so we need this resource, and I'm hoping we can expand our services over the next year. We don't do wellness care right now, so you can't come in for vaccinations. But my dream is that we open up for urgent care. So if your dog has an ear infection or something that's wrong. This year, we are starting on August 9th, our field vet program, which I'm so excited about. We're partnering with Goodness Village, Open Heart Kitchen, and City Serve. And so on August 9th, we're hitting Goodness Village and Open Heart Kitchen. We're bringing a veterinarian and a registered vet tech out, and we're going to do exams, up-to-date vaccinations, microchipping on animals that are in need. You know, they have people in crisis, which means their animals are in crisis. And so we're going to go out and make sure they get the care that they need. And if they need to be spay and neutered, we'll talk to them and see if we can get them to get their animal to the surgery center, and Valley Humane will pay for those surgeries so those animals can get what they need. I do hear sometimes people are like, oh gosh, if you're unhoused or you can't afford a pet, you shouldn't have a pet. Well, what does it mean to afford a pet anymore? Because if you had a pet 6 or 7 years ago, what it costs today to have that pet is very, very different. You go in on an emergency room visit and now you are being charged $10,000. That is a lot of money. Who has that, right? So it's like, who can really afford the animal? And then for our unhoused, sometimes that's their only connection to humanity, right? They're loving something, they're taking care of it. And in return, that animal is loving them and giving them a home. And so there's no reason to think those animals aren't well taken care of. They just don't have access to all the tools that we have. So we're going to bring it to them. So I'm very excited about that program. I've always wanted to do this. So we'll be doing it in connection with other nonprofits. All right, before I bring Mike up, any questions? Yes.
Before I ask my question, I'm going to reveal that I do not sell pet insurance. Okay? I'm an insurance broker, but my question is, do you have a sense as to what percentage of your customers pay for their medical services for their pets with pet insurance?
So pet insurance is kind of an interesting thing. For years, I would even say up until a year ago, 2 years ago, the only option with pet insurance was the type that you had to pay 100% upfront for your visit. Then you had to send your receipts to the insurance provider and then hope that you would be reimbursed for some of your expenses. Well, that is a wealthy person's option. A lot of people who are lower income, fixed income, they don't have the money to front it all so that they can then wait for it to come back. So Trupanion, I think, is the first one that actually will allow that transaction to happen right at checkout at the vet. So they call, they are told how much Trupanion will cover, and then the client then pays the difference. And so health or medical coverage, vet insurance is much better today than it has been, but only a couple of the groups are doing it this way. And so I would say a lot of people still don't have it. Steve Glazer, Senator Glazer, has a bill this year to fix vet insurance in California to make sure that it's more clear and that it's more kind of streamlined. He's adding definitions to the law so that, I mean, I don't want to diminish insurance companies. I worked with one forever. But if they can find a loophole to not cover a situation, they're going to try to find a loophole. And so this bill cleans that up so it can't happen. For example, let's just say that, you know, I have my dog Henry. He's 12 weeks old and I adopt him at Valley Humane and I get insurance right away. 3 years later, I renew my insurance. 3 years later, I renew my insurance. And then all of a sudden he has a heart murmur, and the heart murmur is pretty intense. And then all of a sudden when renewal comes, they say, oh, sorry, your dog has a pre-existing medical condition. We're not going to cover you anymore. Well, that kind of sucks, right? So that won't happen anymore. If the bill passes, they won't be able to do it. So lots of great things are written in there. I don't have pet insurance. Shameful. I have 3 dogs and a cat. I do have some connections to lower cost vet care, but I don't even have insurance. And we did with Murphy. Murphy we had, but it was so difficult. We were always fighting with them. We were always putting our receipts out there and trying to get them to reimburse us. And so it's definitely something that needs to be worked on. But let me talk to you a little bit about insurance because it'll tie into what Mike and I are going to do. Mike has no idea what we're doing. So he just going along for the ride. And so insurance, we know in the housing market, things are bad, right? Like if you live in a fire zone, you're pretty much screwed on insurance. Well, in animal welfare, we are now in the same boat. And so when we met with the Department of Insurance, they just let us know that insurance companies for the first time ever are in the red. And they have no idea like what's happening, and they need to be as tight as possible and eliminate risk. So they, the biggest insurer of animal shelters and rescues in California, not government shelters. Government shelters are self-insured, but private groups, the biggest one said, if any dog has a bite history, they're out. We're not covering them. Well, a bite history could be if a little, like a 6-month-old puppy comes and jumps up on you and scratches your arm and draws blood, that's a bite. Anything that draws blood is a bite, even though it wasn't really a bite. So now that dog is no longer insured. And so our entire business is dealing with dogs and cats. And honestly, cats are way worse. We have more people that go to the emergency room for cat bites than dog bites. I am not joking. Yes, because cats are dirty. Their mouths are filthy. If you ever get bitten by a cat, go to the emergency room and make sure they give you an injection or you will be back. And so with insurance, it's a huge crisis that we're in right now. So we've got roughly 600,000 animals go through animal shelters in California a year, 600,000. 300,000 of them will go through a rescue group. And rescue groups are being canceled like crazy. And so right now, we only know of 3 insurance companies that will cover private animal welfare organizations. And so if that continues, then eventually we may not have any dogs in any private organizations. And so when we do this exercise, you'll see why that is horrible, and it's going to be, it's going to lead to massive euthanasia of really amazing dogs. So I want to explain why it's happening. And so when we have our government groups that are self-insured, and then we have our private groups, whatever happens, all of that gets pooled together. And so they look at all risk. So whatever happens on the government side is impacting all the nonprofits. So we have LA City. LA City Shelter decided in, I don't know, like 2000, we'll just say 2015, that they're going to be a no-kill shelter. Have you guys heard of no-kill? Raise your hand if you've heard of no-kill. Okay. So they're going to be a no-kill shelter. What does that mean? That means they are not going to euthanize for time or space. Okay, so Best Friends comes in, they do all this great work. In 2020, they claimed victory. Well, 2020 was victory for all of us. Like, we'd get 30 applications on a 3-legged dog that was blind and had diabetes. Everyone wanted an animal. So now we have a completely different situation. There are so many animals in our shelters, we can't handle it. And so now what's happened in LA is the public had a fit that there were too many animals. They weren't being cared for properly. The dogs were only getting walked once a month. And it's because they are overcrowded. And then a volunteer goes in to help a dog, not knowing, because she wasn't trained properly, that that dog was a risk. And the dog jumped up and bit her arm and wouldn't let go. And she's screaming for help. No one can hear her. There's no one around. She has to drag the dog all the way through the hall, screaming, upstairs, and into the main lobby until somebody finally sees what's happening. So she lost the use of that arm. She got to keep part of the arm, but she had a settlement that was well over $6 million. Then they adopt a dog to a family. It's against the law to not disclose bites to an adopter, but they thought that that was a voluntary law. And the mother-in-law, I think, of the person that adopted got seriously bit, almost took off her. Maybe that one, she might have lost her hand and arm. I think that one just settled for 6.5 million. And same shelter. Did you guys see in the news that the volunteer or the employee got mauled by a dog, bit in the leg, and she's missing half of her leg? It was in the news. So that settlement hasn't come through yet. So all these cases hurt the rest of us because these, and I'll say it, bad decisions are causing our industry to struggle. And so if they continue, this idea that we can save everybody at the cost of well care and these kind of things are going to end up hurting more animals. So do you want to do our thing?
You have one more question.
Yes. Oh, yes.
One thing my cat and I have in common is that we both hate going to see the doctor. If it wasn't for my wife, we'd probably both be dead. And so the thing that you mentioned about telehealth for cats was really interesting. What goes on at a cat or any animal telehealth vet appointment versus what can they do in online versus in person?
So what we were really fighting for was for a veterinarian to establish what's called a VCPR, so veterinary client patient relationship. This is critical in the vet world. Like, they are required to establish that, and they were not allowed to establish it electronically or even over the phone. So how many times have you guys called the vet? You just have a quick question. You just want to know. My dog just ate a little piece of chocolate, and they're like, oh, you have to come in. Well, that's because they cannot give you medical advice over the phone. They just are not allowed to do it. There's so many things they're not allowed to do that I wish they would share with everybody so that people didn't think it was intentional. Like, let's just say your dog's on meds for a year for arthritis and you just need a refill. And they say, oh, it's been a year, you have to come back in. And it's like, really? Now I have to pay you $75 to look at my dog to give me the same prescription again. Well, it's required. They don't have a choice. You have to go in. They are legally not allowed to re-up that prescription if they haven't seen your animal in a year. And so they could just tell you that. But anyway, when you get on, it's going to be like having a baby. So you're going to get on the call. You might have the cat in your arms and you're just going to say, hey, this is what's going on. My cat is throwing up, or maybe my cat has blood in its urine. And then they're going to talk to you, figure out what the best course, and they might say you have to come in. We have to do blood work. We have to do all these things. What time is it? I'm going to give you guys some veterinary advice. So vet care for the private sector and then vet care in shelters are different. There's an entire thing called incremental care that is done in shelter settings. And so what this means is what we do is more like human medicine. So if you went into the doctor and you said, I think there's blood in my urine, what's the first thing that they're gonna probably do? They might do a sample. They're going to check your kidneys and make sure you don't have an infection in your kidneys. And then they're probably going to give you an antibiotic to treat a bladder infection. Now you bring a cat into the vet and the cat has your blood in its urine. They're going to do everything. They are going to do every blood sample they need to do. They're going to try to do an ultrasound to see if there's bladder stones. They're going to do the full workup. Now you've got a bill that's $1,500. And in the end, the cat had a bladder infection and just needs a course of antibiotics. That's how vets are trained. So it's not like they're trying to do something, where they just want all your money. They've been trained that up front, you need to test for everything so that you can rule out every possible cause and focus in on the one thing that might actually be happening. Should I tell him to shut up?
Gentlemen. Thank you.
So what you can do when you go to the vet is think about this. And so you can say, okay, you want to do this. What will this tell me? You want to do this. What will this tell me? What do you think it's most likely? Okay, so it's probably, you think it's a bladder infection? Okay, so can we just start with antibiotics for a bladder infection, see if that cures the problem in 2 weeks. And then if not, I'll come back and I'll do the ultrasounds and I'll do this stuff. They're going to say yes because you're the client. And so just ask questions when you're at the vet. Why am I doing this? What will it tell me? And what will it rule out? And it's hard because you're emotional. You love your animal. You want to do it. But you can control how much money you're actually spending at those visits so that you don't walk out with a $1,500 bill for a little antibiotic for 2 weeks. I'm telling you all my secrets. All right, Mike, come up here.
Don't trip over that, Michael. You have to see yourself.
I might have to. Now you stand over here.
I don't want to be in front of
Michael, stand over there.
You want him to have a mic? How do you want Mike to have a mic?
No, he doesn't need a mic. He needs, no, he needs.
I need a mic.
Don't give him a mic.
Mike doesn't need a mic.
I'm standing.
Just would you stop worrying about it?
It's not that I don't want to be close to you,
I will be
Melanie, but I
closer to
don't want to be
you.
in the.
Screen.
Okay, open your arms.
Screen.
But they don't need to
Oh,
see
these are
us.
so cute. Are we gonna give everybody one of these?
No, you're gonna stand there and hold it.
I'm just gonna hold it.
How many do you have there? 4?
Yeah.
And here's 6.
Got it.
No, wait, you're not done.
Yeah,
8.
you have a falcon? That's an inside.
I
joke.
know what.
Falcon.
He's a pain.
He is. Why did I ask him to help me?
It's a good
How many
question.
am
I'll
I
ask him
getting?
that.
Do I have to hold?
Okay. So I know, why is he walking so far away now?
Trying to get you to quit giving me these little stuffed animals.
Here, I'll stand next to Mike because he's such a whiner.
You can't stand right in front of the speaker though.
Oh, because it'll scream at me?
Yeah, keep that.
All right, get over here. So Mike is an animal shelter. Isn't he a cute animal shelter?
Yeah.
Okay. Does this sound weird? Should I move over again? Okay, so Mike's capacity is 10 animals. That's all that he has the staff to be able to take care of, the volunteers to take care of. This is where they, are maxed out. Actually, that's not true. I think he can get to 15, but not yet. You can just hold it. Don't worry, you get comfortable, Mike. Get comfortable. Okay, so I have to pay attention to what I'm doing so that we don't overtax Mike. Okay.
We're running out of time.
Zip it. Okay, so your capacity is 15 animals and you have 10. So Mike is a public shelter. He's a government shelter. So when you have a government shelter, you have animal control officers, you are working with the police department. Like there's a lot of work that's being done. So for us, this would be East County Animal Services. But for this exercise, this is Mike Hosterman's public animal shelter. And right now we're starting the day with 10 animals. So then somebody comes in and they surrender their pet.
I get one more.
You're gonna have to do way better than this. You cannot drop an animal.
Can I have a basket or something to put all my animals in?
Okay, so then, somebody. Yeah, you're defeating the purpose.
Cheater.
Okay.
How about this? I can take.
All right,
I
so
can take
now.
any more now.
Now we have an animal that was just found by somebody running stray. And now we have an animal that just got picked up from animal control. And then somebody just got hospitalized or arrested. And the animal needs safekeeping while they're gone. And so here, stop taking up my time and put that animal in there.
Are these all? Are these all dogs and cats? This looks like a tiger.
You're kind of bugging me here. So that extra animal was actually an animal abuse case where they came in and they took it. And so that animal is actually evidence. So that has to stay in that shelter. And so those are really the ways that animals enter our shelter. So police officers, if you get hospitalized and you have pets, they go in. If you get arrested, they take those animals and put them in the shelter for safekeeping. You've got the public that will try to bring their animals in. And so it can get full pretty quickly, hoarding cases. So now, lucky you're now at capacity. You have 15 animals.
My capacity is getting heavy.
You're at 15 animals, but hey, 2 people came in and reclaimed their pets.
Yay, people.
So we now have 2 less. And we just had 2 adoptions. Claire, come and get them. So, or not Claire, I'm sorry, not yet. 2 adoptions. That means the public came in and adopted directly from Mike's shelter. And then Claire can come and grab 5 animals because Valley Humane just came in because that's what we do. We pull from public shelters and we took 5 animals so that we can take care of them. So now, how many animals do you have left?
You know the answer?
You can see why judges love it.
8 animals.
Wins an animal.
So listen, he's under capacity. He's in a sweet spot. He's got the good staff that can take care of these animals. He's got volunteers. He's got resources. These animals are doing really, really well. Claire, you can take your animals back to your spot. Thank you.
Keep those.
Okay, the next day, the police department go in and they sweep a community and do evictions with property owners. No notice to Mike. But now 15 animals just got moved into your shelter.
Right, unbelievable.
Yeah. 13.
You need to take better care of your animals.
Okay, Mike is now over capacity, way over capacity.
How many do we have in here?
23.
Very good.
So
you got an animal?
zip it. 23. And so what does this mean? He is now over capacity. He's got to have animals doubled up in cages, animals that don't know each other. The stress level of the animals is going up. They're not getting walked like they should. They're not being taken care of like they should. And Valley Humane's not coming in today to pull more because our adoptions are down and we're not moving animals out very quickly. And so this is actually where animal shelters are right now. We have more animals funneling in and not enough leaving. And so this is a huge problem. Now, this dog has bit 3 people, requires a very special home if it's going to get adopted. It cannot go outside, it cannot go on walks, and it can only be a 1-person dog. And Mike is over capacity. So this is when they make euthanasia decisions for space. This dog has been in the shelter for 6 months and nobody is taking it. They're out of space. They've got more animals coming in and they can't take it. And so now they make decisions to start euthanizing for time and space. Now, are there other ways that they could relieve this overpopulation in their shelter? Tell me. What? Give me an idea. Yeah, like, oh my gosh, let's extend our space. So San Diego Humane ended up putting kennels in all their classrooms just to handle the overflow. And so when you think about when we're promoting adoption because we need animals to move out of these systems. It's not, these animals are in there not because they're bad animals, except for this one, but because their parents, it's people issues. Their families couldn't take care of them for some reason. They didn't come and get them. And so now the only way for those animals to leave in a positive way is through adoption or reclaim by their owner. So you can see public shelters might have 10 ways animals are going in, but only 3 ways that animals go out. So right now, shelters are making the difficult decision to start euthanizing for time and space again, because they literally cannot hold another animal in their space. So I will end, but I will just say that that is why we need you to adopt. You are not adopting a problem. You're adopting an animal that is kind of a victim of a situation that they had no control over. And if you adopt, you reduce the number of animals in Mike's pot. Thank you. Yeah.
I don't get to give any of these away.
If you want to take a dog home. No, I mean a real dog.
Oh, I was gonna give this to some lucky person. That's cute. How about if we have a raffle prize and the winner gets this little.
Mike, I learned a new strategy with you. Zip it. Yeah. Well, thank you, Melanie. And I just want you to all know that Melanie's husband was one of my favorite students when when I was principal at Dublin High School. And I always tell him that he married up. And her father-in-law, I don't know if you know this, was Mike Sadak, who played for the Giants. He was a catcher for the Giants. Amazing. So thank you, Melanie. And I think at this point, we have an opportunity drawing.
Okay, so we have a whole $143 ready for someone winner. We've got only 10 coins in here.
And Melanie is going to draw.
Okay, we need 2.
Would you like to buy a ticket?
Yeah, nobody you win. Thank you. Okay. You want me to say the numbers? Okay, the last 3 digits are 493. 493. Who you be? Oh, Mr. Burke. Okay. Let's see if we can find the red coin.
Jim, can I make a real quick?
Now we have 9 coins. Where are you? I'm just gonna yell the number out. 490. Is that Bill
To raise their hand if they haven't told you where they're planning.
All right, Bill, pick one.
Get a good one.
Come on, Bill.
Okay. Better luck next time. Hey, I grabbed the microphone just for half a second because I know that Mike mentioned this, but didn't go into any detail. Next Tuesday, or this coming Tuesday, is demotion dinner for past president Steve Van Dorn. Can I see a raise of hands who's signed up to go to that? It's not too late to sign up. If you haven't signed up, you could just show up at the event with the check and give it to Kathy at the door. It's $45 if you'd like to have 2 adult beverages with your food. And if you just want to have soft drinks with your food, it's $30 per person. You could bring a guest or a spouse or a friend. It'll be a lot of fun. We've had a committee meeting for the last couple months over at Mike's office every Tuesday. I'll tell you this, we're having a skit that's going to be very, very funny. We think, at least. We think it's very funny. We're going to have 3 celebrities there. Okay. 3 celebrity judges while we play this game. And one, I'll just tease with the subject here a little bit. We're going to have a superhero. We're going to have a past US president. And we're going to have a very famous celebrity actor who died 4 years ago, but he's going to be there. So we're going to have these 3 celebrity judges, and we're going to have a really fun time with a Scottish accent, right? He was in The Hunt for Red October. That's a little hint. Okay. Okay. So with that, here you go, Jimmy.
Thank you, Bill, and thank you, visitors, for coming. And this meeting is adjourned.